we are digging back through the archives. The Sorrow of Sir Mike, a Neckbeard origin story, part number 1. 9 years ago? Yeah, it's been a little bit. So yes, part 1. Through reading this subreddit, I found myself torn about posting a story from my own life about one of my friends. I like to think he's not that bad of a guy. I've known him since 2005, and I'm slowly coming to realize that he is one of the people that this subreddit is focused on. A neckbeard. For those doing the math, this was posted 9 years ago, so knowing him since 2005 up to 2013, that's 8 years. There you go, you're welcome. As this realization came to fruition, I began to look at myself and say, is that me too? Am I one of them? I meet many of the classic criteria, such as reading comics, enjoying D&D, playing video games, Assassin's Creed being the favorite, an atheist, a libertarian, environmentally induced asthma, and sleep apnea. Sleep apnea? Although that's a neckbeard trait though. I work in IT. I have a terrible past history with social interactions, although that was in middle school, to be fair. I think most people are allowed to be cringe in middle school. It sounds to me like OP's worrying about his beard on the outside, which is not the one that counts. I don't see very much beard on the inside, at least not yet. Birds of a feather, as they say. Fortunately, I am not overweight, 6'4", 240 pounds, and 24 years old. It's a big boy though. I have a decently successful career as a cybersecurity analyst and US Army soldier. I work out at a CrossFit gym 5 days a week. I enjoy hiking and running obstacle races. I've never owned a fedora, and I have a great girlfriend of 2 years. None of these things disqualify Neckbeard completely in my experience, but it seems like you're on the right path, so okay. So personally, and I know many agree here, I don't think that neckbeards are defined by their interests, medical conditions, or attire. They're more defined by the way that they interact in personal and professional situations, which is to say with a sense of entitlement that often seems really out of place with their appearance and demeanor. Oh good, beard on the inside that counts, that's what we say around here. This story is the 9-year process of my realization that one of my best friends is a neckbeard, and my attempt to grasp if he had always been a neckbeard or if he was transformed into one by a controlling ex. And I think it's really interesting that we got the squirrel beard saga going alongside this. It makes me ask the same question. This story is as much mine as it is Mike's, and it begins in 2005 when we first met. God, that's a long time ago. It was the first day of 9th grade, and it was my first day in a new school. I had made a switch because of bullying issues at my old school. In short, I arrived as the new kid in the middle of 6th grade after my father retired from the military, and I was plunged into a terrible, socially awkward state by being the too tall, gangly new guy. And especially being in 6th grade, I think that's the biggest factor here. You're young kids, as far as I'm concerned, they get a cringe pass, all right? It's when you hit your 20s that I'm like, all right, we gotta cut all that out. I finally convinced my parents to let me change to a local charter school, which functioned as an island of unwanted toys for schools in the area. A meeting ground for the socially awkward, if you will. My first day had already been pretty awkward, getting shown around by some redheaded girl who a year earlier had gotten way too deep into my personal space and didn't even seem to remember who I was. She knew. She was just trying not to show her cards too early. We finally got to my first class, and I was turned over to Mike. It was a relief to be away from the personal space invader. Seriously though, people, arm's length. Yeah, especially these days. Is that personal space invader thing an Andrew Jackson Jihad reference? I hope it is. I think it's way too early for that to be a thing, but maybe it's not though. I can't do the math again. Mike seemed like a great guy. He was outgoing, knew everyone's name, and he was fun to be around. After my train wreck experience at my last school, I decided that this is a guy that I should get close to. You're a moth, sucked in by the light, but soon you'll be in for a rude awakening. Well, we ended up becoming good friends throughout high school. Relevant information from this time includes the fact that I dated 2 girls. Yeah. One that I was basically peer pressured into dating and ended terribly, and the other, which lasted about 2 years and ended with her changing her relationship status on Facebook after not talking to me for 4 months. Dude, my heart goes out to you, but yes, this is middle school to a T, is it not? I don't think these quote-unquote relationships, I don't think we can count either one of them, especially not the first one. Long story, it was terrible, but I am a better person because of it. There we go. See? Learning lessons. You had to go through the bad times to get to the good times, to know what you really want. Mike, however, dated no one. He did constantly hang around and sometimes make out in the back of his late 80s retirement community-style Oldsmobile with a girl named Melissa. Hell yeah, FWB! Despite him wanting to, no dates and definitely no sexy time was had. She was a year ahead of us and eventually graduated, moved to college, became a juggalo, dropped out, married some guy, moved 3 states away, probably 14 kids after that. Oh no, this is a terrible trajectory. Although, maybe she's happy. In which case, it's none of my business. Isn't that always the worst? It seems the worst on the surface, OP, but like I said, if she's happy, great. At this point, Mike bounced from having interest in girl to girl, and he was still broken up about the Melissa situation, of course never addressing his feelings with these other girls, and always making his voice more effeminate when talking to them on the phone. Okay. As I was just about to deploy to Afghanistan, he became interested in a girl that he worked with named Maddie. It's always the M names with Mike. I think he seeks out relationship alliteration. That's a new theory to me. We did do quite a little time skip right there. There was no reference of how many years or whatnot, but suffice it to say that I think Mike has been holding this flame for, what was her name? Melissa? For a very long time. Throughout my deployment, I worked nights. I was able to talk a lot to my friends back home, but I had no real face-to-face speaking interaction with anybody for about 12 months. Mike was always telling me about Maddie, and I encouraged him to ask her out on a movie date or to dinner, and I frequently offered him advice on how to proceed, all of which he ignored, apparently. Maybe he didn't want advice, maybe he just wanted commiseration. That's the thing too. When I returned, I viewed the world a bit different, and I had some seriously lingering social issues from not having interacted with anyone for basically a year, so I arrived home, and I went to meet up and see Mike. He says, "Sure, man. Mind if I have Melissa V2 and Marcy tag along?" What? Another girl named Melissa, who shall be referred to as Melissa V2 from here on out. Oh, thank God. He doesn't actually call her V2, right? I thought she was a robot for a minute. And Marcy, I'm telling you, the M names, this cannot be an accident. I guess I don't mind, so we meet up in a McDonald's to grab some food. This is my first time seeing my friend in maybe a year, and perhaps I'm just sensitive, but attempting to reconnect with my friend while he plays tickle fight over the last chicken nugget was nauseating. I give Marcy an apologetic look and found a reason to leave. So the next day, I talked to Mike. "Bro, I thought you were into Maddie. She's who you've been talking about all year," I say. "Nah, bro. I've been over that for a while. Isn't Melissa V2 super great, though?" Yeah, great. Truthfully, she was really damn annoying, and she would go out of her way to invite herself to any event where I tried to catch up with my friend. I see what's going on here. Thus making it impossible to catch up and not be thrown into a socially awkward semi-coma as they basically finger banged under a table at Chili's. That's too good. Other relationships no-nos that were committed include hand kissing and unironic swooping romantic leg lifting end of rom-com kisses over the $5 movie bin at Walmart. You're really painting a picture here. I'm loving this. At this point, I decided to put some distance between myself and them. I was going to wait until my other friend returned from deployment, and we could tackle this together. It's not that I don't want my friend happy, but I also didn't like seeing his life run by someone that wasn't him. Maybe you're a little jealous, OP, that he's got a lady love and you don't, you know? You've done a very poor job at painting the life run by someone that wasn't him part. I see the dude being happy. I don't understand. Maybe we'll get a bit deeper into that, I hope. So once David, the third friend, finally returned, a full 3 months later, we got a hold of Mike again, and he was fully owned. She had him dressed in V-necks, plaid shorts, and mandals. Mandals! This OP's killing me. He hits different, I'm gonna tell you. He was buying her lavish gifts every other week in excess of $200, an amount far outside of his spending ability. He was burning through his checking and savings account in order to appease her. He also appeared to have been stripped of what few interests or closely held beliefs he had, and he had simply become a gray person.
Your dream is just everyone on the omnibus, grey, eating grey sludge.
Although I will say at least we get to see Melissa V2's controlling nature now, right? She was using him and it was becoming very apparent. Bro, we don't like Melissa V2. We think she's bad for you and this relationship just isn't healthy. We had the sit-down talk, addressed our concerns with him like any good friends would. The response we got was not exactly what was expected.
Well, she's going to Detroit in a couple of months for an internship. I'm just trying to get the most quality time I can in with her.
All right, cool. We're going to be rid of this witch in a couple of months. Here's to hoping Mike will be able to eat in the interim because he is running low on money. Author's notes, this is a 100% true story on how a friend and genuinely great person went downhill to the point of becoming a neckbeard. Hopefully you enjoy it. It'll still have some funny, cringeworthy, and depressing moments. I don't know how many parts it'll have, but I will finish it, so yeah. Text wall. All names and locations in this story have been changed for personal security reasons because, duh. Because it's Reddit. Honestly, we don't see too much of the beard popping out in the first part. Sure, he let himself be controlled by love, but he seems like one of those people that's just constantly looking for love. And I can identify him because I am one of those as well. Jumping from relationship to relationship, just looking for somebody that will accept me as I am and somebody that I can connect with. Thankfully, the search is finally over, but I identify with Mike, you know? He seems young, he's not in a good place, and he's trying to buy his way into true love, which is just not how it works. But we will press on into a part 2. There's about 5 parts of this, so I guess the last one will just be 3 parts, maybe? Is that gonna work? I guess we're gonna have to see. But let's jump into part 2 right now. The Sorrow of Sir Mike, a Neckbeard origin story, part number 2. If you need to catch up, well, I just read part 1. But here's part 2. All right. The witch was gone, off to Detroit. Never had I been so happy to see a friend miserable. He kept in text communication with her. That was something that was annoying in its own right, as he almost never looked up from his phone. Bro, he's hooked in real good. I don't know why you're trying to say, he seems happy, but she's also sucking his bank account dry, and then we'll probably toss away the hollow husk, so I don't know. I think OP is doing the right thing, honestly. It just hurts to do it in the moment. So, towards the middle of the summer, the texts began to slow, and Mike became more enraged with whatever it is that we were doing when we were all together. So there we were, enjoying a round of fish and chips at our local seafood place when Mike says,
So I'm gonna go to Detroit to see Melissa V2 in a couple of weeks.
Oh, you still got money left for that, bro? I couldn't help but let a small groan out, but I attempted to remain supportive. So apparently they rented a hotel room, banged, and then had pillow talk and watched a documentary on Nat Geo about some decaying rhino carcass. And we're not talking about Mike or Melissa V2, right? High five. And they say romance is dead. So now the equation has completely changed. Mike no longer has his V card, and his first time was with Melissa V2. After he returned from Detroit, the text conversation was more sporadic than before, yet Mike remained optimistic, including asking me what picture of the two of them he should have framed and sent to her in a care package. Both were pretty horrifying. I selected the one where they weren't trying to eat each other's faces out mid-makeout sesh. I like to think I did him a favor, but he kept the other one for his desk. Oh, that's poetic in its way. I hate this one, so I picked the other one. Okay, now you gotta look at the one you hate all the time. I'll go on record with the fact that she got more care packages in Detroit than Mike ever sent me in Afghanistan. Regardless, it was almost Christmas time. I mean, I don't know if I have to explain this to you, OP, but Melissa does more for Mike than you could ever hope to do for him, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, right? Anyway, yeah, Christmas time. It was the most wonderful time of the year. At least typically. However, this time it marked Melissa V2's return to our area. Oh no, can we crash a plane or something? That'll solve it.
Hey guys, I'm meeting up with Melissa V2 after work today for coffee,
Mike said one day. Great. David and I were thrilled. No, not really. Despite what we thought would happen, Mike's coffee date seemed to go off without a hitch. However, it was certainly not a sign of things to come. It's definitely hard for me to believe that the real story hasn't even really started yet. It comes after the breakup, doesn't it? The fallout is going to be brutal, isn't it? Oh, buckle up. Mike has a birthday that is eerily close to Christmas. So do I, December 7th. Thank you so much. I can only assume that he's been victim of birth misgifts his entire life. I've never asked. He has never told. You kind of get used to it. It's all just stuff anyways, man. But on his birthday in 2012, we were in a Buffalo Wild Wings with an odd assortment of people. There was myself and my girlfriend, David, Marcy, personal space invasion girl, Maddie and her boyfriend, and then of course the birthday boy, Mike. We were having some beers and playing a trivia game for several hours. Mike, however, seemed distant, always in his phone and not even really seeming aware that he was at his own party. It was as if we had reverted to the early Detroit days, where we would never see Mike in any other position except hunched over his phone, tapping away messages to Melissa V2. I mean, it is his party. He probably shouldn't have had a party if that's what he wanted to do, but he should be able to do what he wants to do on his birthday, our big special boy. All of a sudden, somebody screams, "Ew, Mike!" It's personal space invasion girl. Are you sexting at the table? First off, he was. Second, gross. Third, did she really have to announce it to everyone? Yeah, this is not a good person. This is not a person I want to be around. Turn around, look her dead in the eyes and say, yes, I am. And I got a boner right now, so I can't stand up. Just completely deadpan. Do it. Do it. You got to flip the script now. Go. Mike turned bright red. But after telling him he might want to cut all that out while sitting at the table, we moved on so as not to embarrass him anymore. One would be inclined to believe that if they were doing that, having those explicit conversations, that things were going all right in paradise. After a rather zany birthday outing to the bar, whole different story for a whole different day, we all parted ways and Mike wasn't heard from for a week. Is that normal? Is he okay? Somebody get a check on Mike? When David and myself finally met up with Mike again, he seemed off and different. Over beers, he didn't really want to engage in the topics that we typically discuss. Despite asking if anything was wrong, he didn't want to talk about anything. He, through the night, continued to stare longingly into his phone, unlocking it, relocking it, seemingly hoping for there to be something there. Now, call David and I bad friends, but we snagged his phone when we had the opportunity and unlocked it to see what he was staring at, figuring that this was the source of his brooding behavior. Okay, bad friends, why don't you just ask your friend, bad friend?
Let's steal his phone, bro.
Yeah, surely that's gonna fix the situation. Ugh. They're out of high school now, right? He's in the military, right? I don't know, I was kind of a douchebag too in my early Navy days. Fine, gets a pass, whatever. It was, of course, a text conversation with Melissa V2. From what we saw, there was a completely amicable conversation occurring, and then a 4-day break where nothing was said, and then Mike texting back,
Melissa, please, I just want to talk.
One was led to believe that in those 4 days of no contact, something had occurred. It, even today, remains a great mystery, but it is, however, what started a long descent into neckbearddom. Bro, don't hang your manhood, don't hang your humanity on any other person, whether a girl or a guy. No matter what, you gotta stand up, do what's right for you. But yes, this is the lesson that he's due to learn in this story, I suppose. The next couple weeks were highlighted by discussions of how Melissa V2
went back to her ex Tobias, who she always said was a real a-hole.
Interesting note, I actually know this guy from outside the whole situation. He's actually pretty cool. Firefighter, EMT, likes old films. I get along with him pretty well. No idea why he'd get back with Melissa V2, but whatever. Mike said,
I just want a chance to talk to her.
It's over, bro. Move on. Start the healing process. I feel like this is a decently natural response to being left for someone else. I didn't really pay it any mind. As the weeks dragged on, the fervent checking of the phone continued. David and I felt that it was time for another check on what him and Melissa V2 were discussing. But he certainly wasn't sharing with us because, quote,
we didn't understand.
Because after all, we had never been dumped or loved anyone else before. Eye roll. Okay, but it's not about you. He's going through his healing process, you know? Lay off. When he's ready to talk about it, he'll come talk about it. Good on you for checking, but you don't have to turn this into like, oh, I could have fixed the whole situation if only he listened to me. The text conversation was 100% one-sided, with Mike asking to have a talk for days. And then Melissa V2 would humor him. He would write a 4,000-word declaration of love. She would tell him that she said it was over. Rinse, wash, repeat. This was beginning to be very troubling, because it was basically stalking. So David and myself casually worked our way into a serious discussion with Mike on why he might need to think about moving on about now, without letting him know that we were reading his messages. Again, say what you will, we knew it was wrong, but it was the lesser of two evils, letting him continue to harass this girl. Again, I think I have to side with OP here. He's got some gray morals, but they do stand up to scrutiny. This discussion was very one-sided as well, where he effectively talked himself into a broken down, babbling mess on the bathroom floor. I was sitting there, doing my best to console, yet guide him away from the situation, wondering to myself, is this what rock bottom looks like? Honestly, all things considered, that's a pretty soft rock bottom. So, no, to answer your question, OP. This conversation was marked with some special quotes, including,
I'll prove to her that she still loves me. Tobias is an a-hole and he doesn't deserve her. I'm such a nice guy. I did everything for her.
Doing everything for her, that is a nice act. Expecting something for it, that is a nice guy act. As you can see, the nice guy thoughts had begun at this point, as well as the entitlement to a relationship and attention from those that he was interested in. I'd like to think that this was rock bottom, We talked about Marcy, the girl I met at the same time as Melissa V2, and how he had some conflicted feelings about her, and we encouraged him to pursue those and move on and move up. Author's note, everything up to this point has been a preface. Part 2 is where the descent into madness truly begins. One would think it's over, but it ain't. The now shell of a man I once knew is beginning to flourish into a full-blown neckbeard. Often he shows signs of recovery, but don't be fooled like I was. Things are going to get much worse in part 3. As with part 1, this story is 100% true, no matter how absurd it may seem at times. All the names and locations have been changed for personal security reasons.
I only address women as m'lady.
The Sorrow of Sir Mike, a Neckbeard origin story, part number 3. Previous link in the description if you missed parts 1 and 2. So literally months went by. All we heard from Mike was things about Marcy.
Marcy this and Marcy that. Ooh, Marcy.
Not sure if that was a good sign or a sign of a blossoming new obsession. Regardless, it was nice to know that he had found his way free of the Melissa V2 situation, or at least so we thought. One day, about 4 months into the explicit texting over birthday dinner incident, and about the time that their whole relationship seemed to fall apart, I went over to visit Mike at his house. He wasn't home yet and was still on his way home from work. His dad tossed me a beer and we sat on the sofa watching the news.
Strangest thing happened this morning,
Mike's dad said to me. I inquired as to what that was.
Mike seemed very interested in replacing the faucets in the downstairs bathroom, so we went to Lowe's earlier.
Well, that's cool. I have no shame about being interested in home decorating and remodeling, but Mike never really seemed like the type. I had years of watching TLC after faking sick in middle school, so don't judge. But indeed, why was this trip for a faucet of interest to me? Why was it put in this particular story?
Well, Melissa V2 was there. Mike went over and talked to her, put his arm around her.
Gasp! A neckbeard with an ulterior motive? You don't say! I visually cringed back into my seat. I know that it was a setup, and that Mike had no interest in faucets. This meant that he knew that she was working at Lowe's, which isn't where she was working when they were quote-unquote dating, and he knew that she was going to be there, and he used a leaky faucet to get his dad to go with him to create a clear cover and potential guilt or shame, forcing her into a conversation. Bro, this is a multi-layered plan. Neckbeards are nothing if not devious. I didn't even know what to say. I was flabbergasted, sitting there, staring into my Coors Light, as the mountains slowly returned to silver before I was even comfortable taking another sip. Oh, I remember that about Coors Light. The mountains turns blue when it's cold or something. What if it's some, like, intentional corporate branding? What if this entire Neckbeard story was written by Coors Light to make me want to buy some?
It's gonna take a lot more than that, Coors executives.
I'm sorry. I thought Mike was past all this, but apparently he was not. Naturally, later that evening, David and myself confronted him on a walk to town. His responses were this time more extreme.
I deserve another chance. She still loves me, but Tobias is trapping her. It always works in the movies.
Oh, you've been poisoned. And again,
I'll show her that she still loves me.
Yeah, that's not how any of this works, okay? It's time to take the L and walk away. It's really hurting me deep down inside to see you banging your head against this for no reason. Eventually, I told him that his actions violated her personal space and he was essentially stalking her in an attempt to reconcile with her, and it was likely that she would never return that. At that point, I witnessed something that I hardly ever see out of the overweight, prematurely balding, Hawaiian-shirted, bearded Mike. He legitimately wanted to fight David.
I'll fight you for her love. I'll fight anyone for her love.
Bro, is that not some stuff out of like a Hollywood movie? Dude forgot how real life is supposed to work. Fine, fight me. It's not like she'll even care, David says, shrugging. Really, Mike? Because David has some say in her love for you? Come on now. This can't be freaking real life right now. Mike tried to front, as the kids say, or once said. Needless to say, this didn't work out well for him, as David has a lot of experience with fights, ranging as far back as middle school, and also his experience in the army. Mike has never been in a real fight in his life. David had him in an armbar before he even knew what was happening to him. Okay, David, no need for that, alright? Armbar is not a de-escalation tactic. So we sat there, David controlling his angry outburst via an armbar, trying to convince him he might want to go see a professional about his feelings, read issues. Mike was of course adamantly against all of that.
He's not sick.
Both of us being veterans admitted that we've gone and talked to professionals about some of our social issues post-deployment, and maybe Mike should consider it, because these violent outbursts aren't safe or healthy for those around him.
I'm not the violent one in this group. You guys are, with all your love of guns and the army and stuff,
Mike argued, from a more docile state inside of his armbar prison. A hobby doesn't make one violent, David explained, relating to our love of target shooting. That's not what he's talking about at all, dude. The guy that has somebody else in an armbar currently, he's like, yeah, that doesn't make me violent. Your actions made me violent, Mike. Oh, as Captain America said, I don't want to kill anybody. I just don't like bullies. I said about our involvement with the army and my past history with middle school fights. You don't like bullies, so you join the army. Alright. Finally, he was allowed up after he calmed himself down, and we had a more civil talk about Mike refusing to see a counselor. We began walking him to his car so he could go home.
I don't understand you guys. You're supposed to be my friends. You're supposed to have my back.
Oh, now you feel for the neckbeard a little bit. He doesn't have any friends aside from the guy who puts him into an armbar. What he didn't realize is the fact that we did have his back. He was beginning to take this obsession with Melissa V2 to the extreme. Bro, if you keep this up and we get your back, eventually we'll be getting our backs broken by Dante the cellmate too, David spits out, clearly at the end of his nerves. I don't think that's how the judicial system works, but go off, I guess. Melissa V2 had made it very clear several times via text that if Mike continued to contact her, she was going to call the police. Mike didn't know that we knew that, but David's comment was 100% alluding to the fact that she might actually go through with such a thing.
I don't care. I'll go to prison to be able to have my say.
That's a really dumb idea, Mike. So there I stood, mouth agape, after one of my best friends just said he was willing to go to prison just to be able to talk to his overly controlling ex-girlfriend. What planet am I on?
If I do something raw and unfiltered enough, she'll see that she still loves me.
Oh, man. Yeah, raw and unfiltered. It sounds kind of like a cigarette or a beer, not something one does when they're in love with a person who doesn't love them back. I tried to think of what in the world was a raw and unfiltered showing of love. Nothing good. It involves duct tape. Don't go there. Yeah, bro. I'm sure you wouldn't get rolled up by the local SWAT if you just showed up to her house with a boombox blaring Van Halen's "Why Can't This Be Love" with 24 Walmart roses. I was obviously being very sarcastic. With that, Mike slammed the door of his little blue Mazda Miata and drove off angrily. Why is he driving a Miata? What the hell? Friday night is bar night. It is that way in just about every social circle that still bothers to frequent a bar, and our group is no exception. Mike seemed in high spirits as we watched sports on the TV and sipped on some beer. The door opened, and a gust of wind blew across our ankles. We all turned in unison towards the door, a learned behavior at this particular bar, because you never know who's gonna come in. Yeah, is it gonna be gangbangers or bikers? I better get in my Mazda Miata and drive away. We have fun here.
Hey, those girls are pretty cute,
Mike says to me. My mouth quickly curled into a smile. It was good to see my friend acknowledging the presence of other women that weren't Marcy or Maddie or Melissa V2. Well, go talk to him, bro, I say.
I don't know. There's two of them. I think I need a wingman.
It's just two people. Can you not have a conversation with just two people? Come on, man. Sure, bro. I got you. OP, this posturing, it's not a good look. Mike doesn't have the skills to pay the bills like our intrepid OP does. Yeah, talking to two girls while you're all by yourself. There's a reason wingmans were invented, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. We walk over to those two girls and we introduce ourselves. We are invited down to sit and we make some chit chat. I determined which girl Mike was interested in and asked the other one about her engagement, as she was wearing a rather hefty diamond on her hand. She proceeded to tell me all about her dress and cake and commitment issues. Uh-oh. I was about a stone's throw away from receiving an invitation to this bash when Mike decided that he had to do something that shocked me into silence.
Oh, hey, you know, I'm Mike, but I forgot to get your name,
Mike said.
Oh, my name is Melissa.
Before Mike's mouth could even open, my face and my palm were already traveling toward one another. I knew what was coming, and it was gonna be embarrassing for the both of us.
Oh, that's funny. That's the name of the ex that I'm here drinking to forget.
Smooth. Like Coors Light. My palm and face made contact, and I left it like that for a moment. I shook my head slightly before looking up. The bride-to-be was looking at me with apologetic eyes. I'm sorry, your friend isn't very good at this, is he? No, he obviously isn't. Well, you did a great job wingmanning him, so there's always that, she smiled. That wasn't really what I was shooting for, but I suppose after that display, I'll take any small victory that I can get. Author's notes, this is part 3. It's officially gotten worse, as you can clearly see. However, as bad as it may look, it's gonna get worse in part 4, which will likely be the last installment of the story. It's not. As with parts 1 and 2, this story is 100% true no matter how absurd it may seem at times. All the names and locations have been changed for personal security reasons. So I understand this pining and puppy love when you're in high school, you're a young kid, but it sounds like Mike is a balding fat man in a Hawaiian shirt who drives a Mazda Miata. Like he should have a bit more stuff figured out. At the very least, learn how to take no for an answer. Good God. OP says it'll get worse, so let's see how much worse it can get as we jump into part number 4. The Sorrow of Sir Mike, a Neckbeard origin story, part number 4. At my college, there are 2 college holidays that no semester is complete without. The first being the semester block party, a school-sanctioned event that usually devolves as the sun sets into a giant raving party, and the other is the more traditional spree day, where students get plastered to the wall drunk on the day before the start of finals week.
Hey, it's the return of Party Demon, whoa!
On this particular day, Mike and myself were attending the block party as he had recently transferred into my school after snagging his 2-year degree, and he was not in pursuit of a 4-year degree, something that eluded me for quite some time. 7-year junior. Not even senior. There's not even an alliteration for the kind of animal that I was. I'm basically Van Wilder. Party demon, whoa! You're making him stronger. You need to stop this, OP. I will not tolerate any further mention of Van Wilder. National Lampoon's worst movie ever. You personally offended me in multiple ways. After giving the no-contact mobile roller derby track that had been sponsored by the Gay Straight Alliance a try, Mike and I decided to take a walk around the whole campus and bear witness to how the campus was being slowly consumed by this party.
Hey bro, I think that girl and her friends just checked us out,
Mike says. I glance up, and I spot a group of decently attractive girls sitting around a picnic table. Dude, you know the deal. Go up and talk to him, man, I say, knowing already that he'll find a way to avoid the potential romantic contact with a female that wasn't Melissa V2 or Marcy.
I wouldn't know what to talk about, man. Just forget it.
Come on, wingman! 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 There it was. Oh, you're so much better than him, OP. Fortunately, this gave our ingenious OP a moment to toss a pitch unrelated to his love life and more on just having topics that are fun to talk about with people. Dude, she was wearing a Star Wars shirt and she had an Iron Man hoodie. That's two really easy topics to start off with after a nice intro. And this is how we get conversations like, oh,
you like Metallica? Name 5 songs.
Mike scowls as if he had just tasted something foul. I raised my eyebrow as we walked away from the group of girls.
Dude, are you kidding me? I don't like that stuff. I ain't a nerd.
It was for a fleeting second that I considered his comment. If he wasn't a nerd, then what was he? He wasn't athletic, not exactly an academic either. He still had no interests or hobbies. I don't know if I was a person he'd be willing to qualify as a nerd, but that's all stuff that I like. Before I could comment back or ponder any further, my heart sank. She was here. V2 was here, and we were staring right at her. It's another multi-layered plan, isn't it? We play as a 4D chess today. I felt this sinking feeling in my heart, like either Mike had agreed to come to the block party to be near her, or this was just an unfortunate coincidence that was going to land me as an accessory and Mike with a little blue box above his house. Is that a reference to the TARDIS? Little blue box? I don't know what you're talking about. But I think on my toes, of course. I'm OP Party Demon V2, whoa! Let's go get a beer, I say, far too loud and not conspicuously at all. Mike agrees, and we walk off to go buy a PBR tall boy off a guy who was selling them on his front porch. I was walking on pins and needles. Had he seen her or not? I know he's not the most attentive guy ever, but she was walking no more than 10 feet directly in front of us with Tobias, who was not a small guy. Mike says nothing as he happily sips on his beer. It was like waiting for a bomb to explode. Having cut the green wire, not sure if your life was about to end or if you were just worrying for no reason. And how stupid was my plan to get beer? Now we're trapped on campus with 24 ounces of PBR each, and we can't leave until they're empty. You never throw away beer, my friend. Might be crazy, but there has to be a line.
Hell yeah, dude. I imbibe alcohol all the time. I'm Party Demon. Whoa.
I was now playing the most dangerous game. I don't want to abruptly leave the block party as it's like bro Christmas, and it would be suspicious. So I took on the challenge of avoiding her and Tobias as I finished my beer and hoped that Mike would avoid seeing them as well if he hadn't already. I am successful and we don't see them again and leave the party. Honestly, they probably clocked you guys and left before you had the chance to leave, right? So several weeks go by and Mike says nothing about seeing them. My not so subtle diversion of crummy beer and lessons on how to avoid being tailed and doing tailing from my father had apparently paid off. Oh, was your father like a secret agent or something? You could tell me. I won't tell nobody except a couple thousand people. It's fine. I was pretty pleased with myself, to say the least. "We're out back," Mike's father yells to me after knocking loudly on his door one day. I go around to the back of their house and I am once again tossed a beer, despite it being only noon. Whoa! I look around and I don't see Mike. He must still be in class, or maybe he's at work. "Be nice to Mike today. He's had a rough day," Mike's mom says to me. Before I continue, it's very important to understand a few things about Mike's mom. She runs him very much like Melissa V2 does. Oh, that tracks. She basically refuses to allow him to grow up, and for her to lift her thumb and cease being his mother and turn into the more parent-friend relationship that my folks seem to have mastered so well.
Mike is a weirdo. Mike is a weirdo.
Allison, Mike's 7-year-old sister, chanted, skipping around the yard with a bubble wand, apparently more informed on what was occurring than I was. I usually do my best, but what makes today so special? I ask.
Maybe we should let Mike tell him,
Mike's dad says.
No, he should know before interacting with Mike today,
His mom bickers back. His dad shrugs and walks over to the grill he was cleaning when I arrived.
Anyville State College police called today. Apparently Melissa V2 took out a no-contact order on Mike. He can't talk to her or send any correspondence without her permission first.
Yeah, you saw that one coming. I couldn't help but laugh, honestly. The chuckle escaped my lips before I knew it was coming. It wasn't more than a second. But still not a very cool thing to do in front of dude's mom, if I can interject. So Mike's mom stared judgmentally back at me, as she should. But I can't really be surprised. I've had an inside track on his constant harassment of her and general oppressive behavior than his mother did. He had it coming. He really did. After this, my phone rings. Mike let me know that he was going to meet me, David, Marcy, and my girlfriend at McDonald's down the street from his place in 30 minutes. I rush there to share in the good news. Sad news? I don't even know anymore. The news of Mike's no-contact order. When I arrived, though, everyone seemed to be tripping over one another, trying to let each other know what they knew about it. Hardly any new information was exchanged. Once we met up with Mike, we kept mum about it, waiting for him to bring it up and share with us what had happened. That's never gonna happen.
"Guys, I have something to tell you."
He went on to explain the call he received from the college police and how he could no longer talk to Melissa V2. See, Mike's a better guy than I give him credit for. He might be obsessive and has had his mind rotted out by Hollywood movies, but he's not all bad deep down. I could see it. Instead of dwelling on this revelation or consoling him about it, I moved into what I really wanted to know. What caused this, bro? I was asking what the straw that broke the camel's back was, but that's not the way that Mike heard it, because the answer I received was certainly not the one that I was expecting. Though I can't say by this point, I certainly expected the dumbest things when asking these kinds of questions.
"Well, you see,"
Mike began,
"Melissa V2 has been hanging out with personal space invasion girl a lot lately, and I believe she's put out this idea of a no contact order into Melissa V2's head. I'd even go so far as to say that she might even have helped her fill out the paperwork."
Well, that's rough, bro. It's time to move up and out. I don't know what you want. For a moment, I was impressed. It actually was a sound theory. Despite her moniker to me, a personal space invasion girl. Again, all it takes is one interaction standing too close, and this could be you. Don't let this be you. Wow, I certainly won't. OP just doling out the life advice over here. So, Personal Space Invasion Girl is actually a crisis hotline counselor and deals a lot with relationship abuses. Truthfully, if they had been hanging out and sharing details of their relationships, she may have suggested it despite being a long-term friend of Mike's. Then it dawned on me. What if Melissa had seen us at the block party and took that as a sign, along with the Lowe's incident, that she was being stalked by Mike because somehow Mike knew that she was going to be there, thus making me an accessory? Well, I can't call it. Hopefully it was the first one because I didn't need to be implicated in my friend's crazy. Yes, OP, it's all about you. This entire situation, these two people, they just reflect on you entirely. I don't know how to process this, dude. At this point, the discussion began to devolve, as they usually do, into Mike being hostile and defensive towards everyone trying to help him.
Now she holds all the cards, all the control. Where's my piece of that? I'm gonna appeal it so then I can talk to her about it. I submit a letter to her through the police so she can understand that I still love her and that she still loves me. I'll just talk to her to help her understand. She won't have me arrested. She loves me.
Ooh, boy. I don't know how to break it to you, son. She don't. I found the comment about control to be the most poignant. It's very obvious he doesn't respect her choices if they don't directly benefit him. This, to me, is huge, because it shows that he either never or at some point stopped valuing her as a person and started viewing her as an object or a prize to be won. A quintessential neckbeard trait. The rest of it was just crazy talk that was likely to get him in a position where he could find love with Bubba, in a group shower, in county lockup. No, it's fine. It's gonna be fine. Most he does is like a year, 6 months with good behavior. It's gonna be fine. 6 months, a long time. Author's notes, I do apologize for not concluding the story here. I realized if I had finished it, the size of the post would have been probably 2 times the other one, so I think I'll be able to cover the last important transformation points in the last entry tomorrow. So I guess that'll make it a 5-part series, or after a convo with Mike yesterday, maybe more than that, as opposed to my original 4-part plan. No, it's 5, it's 5. We see many years after the fact that it's 5. Guess that'll work out if I decide to sell the movie rights. Yeah. I'll be honest with you, this Neckbeard story probably doesn't get top billing. Anyways, as I mentioned with parts 1, 2, 3, this stuff is true, taken from my real experience in dealing with a 2-year-long coping process of my friend of 9 years. A lot of it may seem absurd, but it is real. Thank you for reading. I don't know, man. It gets harder and harder to like OP the longer the story goes on. This Neckbeard's obviously having some trauma. And OP's only solution is just like, hey, go talk to those girls. You don't need my help. Go approach a table of 8 girls and try to hit on one of them. It's not gonna go well. But you could do it if you were great like OP. Just do that from now on. Oh, why didn't I think of that? Damn, dude. All right, one more story, and then the tale of Sir Mike is wrapped. Fingers crossed that it has a happy ending, because in my opinion, Mike deserves it. So we're moving on. The Sorrow of Sir Mike, a Neckbeard origin story, part number 5. After the no contact order, life seemed to go forward without an interruption pertaining to the succubus known as Melissa V2. Mike had been a lot more closed off about his feelings. Despite this, he seemed very intent on getting Marcy's attention. While I viewed this as a good thing, Marcy and my girlfriend, Marcy's closest friend, were not pleased. You've got to get him under control, my girlfriend said to me. He won't leave Marcy alone. She is not interested. Well, has she told him that? I asked, already knowing the answer and wondering why his actions were my problem at all. She hasn't told him that, but he's just not picking up on the clues, she scowled back. Well, she should just tell him outright. And who knows, even that doesn't work sometimes. We both laughed, knowing that I was referencing the no contact order. Either way, he seems to be getting over the Melissa V2 situation. I'm sure he is. What stage of grief is this? Truthfully, I was glad that Mike was harassing Marcy. Maybe don't phrase it like that. Because it was keeping him from doing something stupid that would land him in a place where he could jumpstart his career as a license plate stamper. Haha,
That's what they do in jail. That's the joke. I was meeting up with my girlfriend before my first ever Go Ruck challenge. The event was set to be 12 plus hours, and it was going to be off grid for that time period. Lifting heavy things and exercising and running, all with 6 bricks in a pack. So I figured we'd do a good pasta dinner so I could carb up for the self-punishment, which I had signed up for. A couple hours later, I was headed to the challenge, and my phone rings. It was David and Mike via a 3-way call.
Go ahead, Mike. Tell him,
David fumed.
I can't make it Saturday night. I'm hanging out with personal space invasion girl.
What the hell? We'd made these plans weeks ago. After my challenge, we were all planning on doing something. I can't for the life of me remember what it is that we were planning to do, but it was certainly a planned out, anticipated event for David and I. So you're blowing us off, I ask.
Well, I had plans with her first, and I just forgot, so I'm not really blowing you off. Making plans a week in advance, then canceling at the last minute regardless of the reason is the very definition of blowing us off,
David said. Do you guys want him to move on or not? I'm very confused. The thing you can't remember must have been super important, you know? And with that, Mike hung up on us, obviously very upset. David and I discussed between the two of us if we were rightfully upset and not overreacting. We decided it seemed fair for us to be upset, and then discussed if he was going to try and use personal space invasion, girl's relationship with Melissa V2, or something of that nature. Boy, y'all are just one gigantic hen night, aren't you? Is it fair that we're upset? Yeah, it is. Like, about an outside perspective. Does it suck? Yeah, sort of. But also, you're doing your little exercise thing, and you'd probably be tired after that anyways, right? My boy Mike, he's got a chance to boogie down, and I think you need to respect that. He can make his own decisions. I was sitting at a statue that had been designated as the start point for my Go Ruck challenge. The statue was of a boy holding a turtle at waist level, and that turtle had a very surprised look on its face. I sat there contemplating if the relations I was witnessing between boy and turtle were the intention of the artist, or an unfortunate circumstance of the angle I was sitting at, and wondering if Mike was attempting to abuse his oldest friend's relationship to communicate with Melissa V2. But seriously, it was mostly the turtle. That's a snapping turtle. That's how they perform circumcisions in the Amazon. Bet you didn't know that. I'm so worldly. 17 hours later, I arrived back at my apartment, nearly falling asleep where I stood after rucking all Friday night and into the morning. See? I called this one. I contemplated going straight to bed, but knowing Mike had canceled it meant that I had all the time to sleep that I wanted. I got into the shower with a beer. Whoa! Too tired to stand, I decided to sit and eventually fell asleep, cradling my beer in my arms like a small child until the hot water ran out and I was shocked awake by its icy blast. But its icy blast will never compare to the chill of Coors Light. Seriously, what am I getting sponsored? It was clear I was exhausted. Maybe it was for the best that Mike had ditched us, because I would probably not have been able to catch up on all the sleep that my body needed. I hobbled to my bed and knocked out like a light. And even then, while writing the story, you still feel like you had the right to be mad about it. I don't get it. Sometime during my 20+ hour sleep, I was awoken by a ringing phone. I blinked my eyes open, dark outside, so it was Saturday night. It took me several rings to even get my arm over to the phone. I was so sore. I dragged it onto my bed and sleepily answered it on speakerphone, knowing that I couldn't bend my arm to my ear right now. Hello? I said, groggily, not even having checked who it was that was calling me. Jake! Jake! Personal space invasion, girl cried from the other end of the phone. Too tired to care, I responded very flatly to her angry and hectic tone. What? Mike just groped me. He's out in the living room drunk and I'm locked in my room and I don't know what to do. Huh? I said, looking for some clarification. He was asking me to help him get back with Melissa V2, and I said no, and that he needed to move on, and he rage groped me. Yeah, rage groping, that is a thing, apparently. I was far too exhausted to care, be shocked, or say anything other than what I said next, then call the cops. No, you need to come pick him up, she said back. Like hell. I'm in no condition to drive. I can hardly lift my own arms. If it's that big of a deal, call the damn cops. Oh, and look at OP just brushing off assault like a saint. He's like, whatever. I'm not gonna help at all. Just when you think he can't get any worse, he gets worse. It's amazing. I hung up the phone. I stared at it as my eyes began to get heavy again. It starts ringing again just as I black out into Sleepyland. I finally came to early Sunday morning. I explained to David what had happened now that I had all my mental faculty straight. Despite only being capable of waddling anywhere that I went, we decided to call Personal Space Invasion girl back and get the rest of the story. She tells us what we already knew, then goes on to tell us that she called over some friends from her work, which is at that crisis hotline, and they also tried to get her to call the cops, but in the end, she didn't. She just told him that she didn't want to see him ever again and to leave in the morning. She remained locked in her room with her friends overnight. Well, geez, now that I'm awake and it's a convenient time for me, I'm totally going to be morally outraged. Who wants to bet money that's what's coming next? Now that we were fully informed, and we waited until we saw Mike again to bring it up because someone needed to address this. Yeah, just definitely don't address it at the time it's happening. What is going through your head, dude? I'm sure Personal Space Invasion girl's friends did, but we had to make sure and hear his side of the story while we were at it. You're kidding, Mike says. I lift an eyebrow at another response I did not expect. She should be apologizing to me. She ruined my relationship. She ruined my life. After that comment, both my eyebrows were up. I couldn't imagine that as an acceptable response to, that wasn't cool, bro. You're lucky that she was chill, lest you have a blue square above your house. A square that's as blue as the signifier mountains on our delicious bottles of Coors Light. It's the last time, I promise. I still don't know what that means. But since I now know that Melissa V2 was coerced into that no contact order. How do you know that? I said, again, shocked at the statement that he'd made. Easy. Personal Space Invasion girl heavily implied that she had something to do with it. Interesting. Because during David and I's call with her, she had said that she had nothing to do with it. And she had no idea where Mike would have gotten such an idea, and that she, quote, always liked the idea of them. I'm tossing a BS flag on that last part, but the rest of it, I was inclined to believe. Anyway, Mike continued, I decided to write that letter I've been talking about. I've had almost 2 years to grow and mature and realize that she's the one, and we belong together. I didn't like how it ended with her having all the cards, so I'm going to put all my feelings into a letter and email it to her so she could know how I feel and how what she did affected me. I brought a draft if you want to read it. Whoo boy, he never did give up the goose, did he? He produced a folded up piece of paper from inside his jacket. I stared at it for a moment. I had to know, but I shouldn't be encouraging this. You're gonna email it to her? I ask, not wanting to get my fingerprints on a letter that's likely gonna end up in the hands of the local PD. Yeah, man, I thought that would be best. I take the piece of paper and fold it open and begin to read. Milady, Melissa V2. I glance up, looking at my friend. I look at him wondering if he's ever gonna bounce back from this and become the person that I met as an awkward new kid in a new school, or if he was doomed to a hobbyless,
womanless existence where he pines after whatever girl could put him in jail. Or who knows, if he decides to send the letter, he might end up in jail. As a friend in situations like this, my loyalty lasts until you put me on a stand and try to get a defense out of me for an abused but yet abusive guy that assaults and stalks women when he doesn't get his way. I wish he would come around, but after 2 years of recovery, he truly hasn't grown at all. There are entire cities that we can't go to because they, quote, remind him too much of her. Only time will tell. I let time pass without reading further. I handed it back to him and said, you could use a few more commas. I would recommend you express your feelings there, but I wouldn't mail it. Keep it for you. I guess that's rather salient advice. Did Mike listen or not? We have no idea. I like to think that he did, though. The end? Question mark? No, not question mark. Period. It is the end. Author's notes. Pictures of the turtle statue on request. That's the story to current as of a week or so ago. This series may see another chapter depending on what happens, or it may very well end here. We continue to do our best to get Mike to understand that his actions are selfish and entitled, and get him interested in pursuits outside of women, but with little success. He has yet to learn a lesson for his actions, which gives this story kind of a gray ending. But whatever, a full arc wasn't really the point of the story anyways. It was mostly to share some of the crazy and the descent into madness over a girl that manipulated him into financial ruin. He's got a Mazda Miata, he's got some Tommy Bahama shirts, he's doing fine. The one bit of knowledge that I would share that I've taken away from this experience would be that you need to love yourself and your life before you can love life with someone else. Well, damn, for as much as I razz you, OP, that is a beautiful sentiment. I like that a whole heck of a lot. Still a lot of work for myself to do in the loving myself department, but it's a starting place, I guess. What I mean to say is that if you lack drive in your life for things outside of work and romantic pursuits, you're what I've come to call a gray person.
Your dream is just everyone on the omnibus, grey, eating grey sludge.
Someone who defines their life by their work and their relationship. This was dangerous for Mike because it really gave him nothing to talk about in his relationship, as he avoided popular movies and video games entirely because he didn't want to be seen as a nerd, which may have been one of the factors which resulted in Melissa V2 leaving. 100% of the conversations were about work and their relationship. I mean, as long as you keep communication open, I don't think it really matters that much what you talk about. Our hero OP out here again, he's like, I could have saved the relationship if only. You needed hobbies, that's what it was. You'd think that this would have some healthy effect, but it leads down a rabbit hole of constant bickering about the relationship. My father always told me that love is just what you feel for a female best friend that you share a relationship and physical attraction with. Regardless of if you agree or not, that drives my philosophy, that you should have commonalities and interests with your partner, so you can spend time arguing if Gungans or Ewoks are the worst Star Wars race, or plan an Avengers-themed couple's costume for Halloween, like friends would, as opposed to who loves who more, or whatever else. Would you date me if I was an earthworm? Kinda got off on a rant, but thanks for reading. If there's any interest, I may have another story about stealing my girlfriend back from a neckbeard. I could do a teaser in the comments if there's interest. All the names and places have been changed in this story, and it's 100% true no matter how absurd it may seem at any given time. Win your girlfriend back from a neckbeard, bro. That's not winning. She belonged to the streets. It's time to retire that. Maybe you're more like Mike than you think, OP. That's what I got to say about that. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, friends. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Like, comment, sub, share it around. I'd appreciate all that. Follow me on all the things, links in the description. And of course, I'd like to thank my patrons, as I do once a week now. So our first item up for auction, we have that one gay cop. Do I hear
500. Valley-eyed Crane. There you are. Glitching Out Gaming. Thank you so much. Cellwing 666. Samantha. Origami Steve. Vladimir Dragonov. Ameldia Hannon with the $1,000. Sean Cantwell. John Endors. Trainboy. Shiza. Angel Dark. Bedazzled. Misery. $5,000. Skylar Rain. The Fez Wearer. Heaven Said 777. Robert Thibodeau. Jackie McQuitty. Grimm's Tribe. Tooth Plushy. Corey Arts up to $10,000. Florentic Raver. Dungeon Bat. Billy D. Robert Waits. Brandon Ashcraft. Phantom Danica. Skylar Morningstar. The Gypsy Barber, 20,000 Fire Drake Death's Flagship, buy two, get one hand. And so he did buy two, and he also got one. That one gay cop. That's how that's working, right? Heading over to the Patreon, what do we have for sale? It is Holly Hohen, a very rare piece, one of a kind. Do I hear $100? Robert Waits, thank you so much. Camille Sarah. Roxanne Wolf Simp Jerry, $500. Chris Fluxer, anyway. Merry Christmas, anyway. That's funny. Captain Clown Jerry coming in with the big bid. Ellipses, Origami Steve, Santa Jerry, Silent Revolver, $1,000. Do I hear 1,500? Zathras, Jerry, the original Jerry, Zarfar Barkar? I guess not. Harley Hohen sold for $1,000. Honestly, got him pretty cheap. Next up, we got Destiny Piper, $50. Whoa, that was quick. Jerish Kitsune with $200. And Frankenberry, where you at? Hiding, bitch. Assassin Punk Jerry, Baby Jerry, Billy D, Bitch Gremlin, Played the Hero, Chancellor, Blue Kraken, Commander J Tank, Dirty Little Jerry, Dr. Larks, Dial, Aaron Era, Erratic Mechanic, Final Bid, there you go. E-Spars is next up on the auction block. Frozen Over Studios, Fire Drake, Gizmo Jack, Hey Dream BR, Irish Pirate, Iron Hollow, Irradiated Jam, JM Kun, Jerry Smith, Jerry Blacktail, Jukebox Jerry, sold to Jukebox Jerry. Why not? I like that name. Lady Italia Greyhound Dino. Go ahead, place your bets. Lady in Awakening, Lauren Crow, Legitimate Girth, Lord Jerio, Lukovex, like and subscribe. Milady Nix, Mad Monk, Melgar the Destroyer, Metal Factor, Mint Chip. Yes, sold to Mint Chip. Congratulations. Needless King 89 is up next. Phantom of the Pines, Jerrykins, and Jerry Beth, Queens, Quaaludes, and Quagmires, Sarita the Lolita, Scarlet's Coven, Sergeant Gay Cop, Bringer of the Law, Silo Imp, Stephanie Goodner, Storm Jerry going once. Synaptic Boomstick swooping in there. Taco Mao, Tamago, the Gypsy Barber, the Littlest Who, the One True Fusky, sold to the One True Fusky. This isn't even my final beard. I know that, but what are we trying to sell next? Trying to find another marble to get back to the real world. The one and only real world marble. Vanguard Angel, VC3, Viking Jerry, Vladimir Dragonov, again, amazing. Wikitech, Comrade Mooney, Kira, not another Jerry, but he is though. Cage Alex 9, Redwind, Bad Penny Lane, Carcass, Naga Viper, third stuff going twice. Oh, sold the third stuff. Next up, we have the irreplaceable Venom Jerry. One leg Jerry's return from battle. Go ahead. A normal Jerry. Thanks for watching the beers away. Now I gotta clean up the foul before Landlord Jerry gets mad. I think you mean Land Chad Jerry. Amber Alder, another stupid hipster, Atomic Jerry Zilla, Bartender Keelia, Big Dad Wolf, Broken Spine Horseradish. Is that a different Jerry? Yes, it is. It's Cake Jerry. Not for sale. California Jerry Girl, Chikara the Panda, Corey does commissions now. Cryptides, Stefan, Defter Tuna, Deku, and sold to Dwarfy Dude. Fedorable Jerry, anybody in for this? Just tip the Milady Uwu. You could be his Milady of the Night. Step on up, Gentu at the Doodles. Jerry Blue's daughter, Ghost of Alpha, Jerry Green Ranger. Greymon 365, half Slavic Jerry in a tracksuit, Heeknot, Hydra Jerry Solomon, Janitor Jerry, I can't think of anything funny right now. Hey, welcome to the club. Jeffrey, Geralt of Rivia, Jerry but with two S's and a E, Jerry Springer, the results are in. You are not the Neckbeard. Jerry's mom has got it going on. Jerry Roxers, Kid Marvelous, Kidsikin, Machia City, maybe next time, Miss Duchess, Mr. Gasmax, Not Invisible Angel, Raptor Arc, Seldom Dark, Snary, the Snom Jerry, Spoonie the Rogue, Spoopy, Scary, Jerry Ton, Techno Dubs, they call me Jerry Two Knives. This is purely a mercantile transaction. Oh, sold because that name is perfect. To Infinite Jerry and beyond. Anybody? You can't put a price on that.
Tokyo Bird, Unkale, Vaughn. Throw 2-liter Mountain Dew. Grow my neckbeard, grow. It's Jerry time. Holds ReddX Morpher. Hygiene. It's Jerry time. Holds ReddX Morpher. Humility. And thank you to my $1 patrons as well. If you stuck around through all that, you must really like me, and I really like you too, all right? So do all the things that I asked you, and always remember, friends, you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it, and I shall see you in the next one. So until then, bye-bye.